What's going on? Today I want to look at 5 more oddball albums in my collection that I can't really categorize into other videos. So we're going to use the broad definition of experimental and electronic music. And we'll get started with this one. Throbbing Gristle 20 Jazz Funk Greats. Again, the album artwork and album title are very tongue-in-cheek, just going for the ironic thing. But this came out in 1979, and it was the third album by this experimental British group that formed in 1975, broke up in 1981, and they came back for a time in the 2000s, but I don't have a lot of knowledge about what they did during that time. This album is a strange mix of industrial, noise, ambient, and any odd weirdness you can think of. It's also considered their best and most well-known album. So if you're interested in Throbbing Gristle and old experimental music, great place to start. Not too song-oriented, definitely more experimenting than writing great songs. And I wouldn't even really consider them a band as much as like a artistic collective. Their old stuff was based on interesting, extreme live performances and artsy performances. But again, a very respected group in experimental music and a good place to start. Boards of Canada, Twoism. Boards of Canada are not from Canada. They are a Scottish electronic two-piece group, I think. They formed in 1986, and they're still around, and they have put out many EPs, many projects, but from what I gather, they put out only 4 full-length studio releases. This is their first EP from 1995. Closest comparison is probably something like Aphex Twin, but seems a little more minimal than what I've heard from Aphex Twin. Again, I haven't put this on in a couple years, and just this morning I put it on the background, and I quite liked it. 8 songs on here. Amber Asylum, Bitter River. This one came out in 2009 on Profound Lore. And I have a couple Amber Asylum releases, actually. I just got to find them. This is the one I found today. Dark ambient, neoclassical, you could call it either one of those things. Chris Force is the main person behind this group, and she is a multi-instrumentalist who, again, has played many instruments, but I believe violin is her main thing and has worked with many metal projects over the years. She's been a member of some bands, and she's also done guest appearances on many metal bands' releases. So yeah, usually I'm not a big violin guy, but even still, I like Amber Asylum and groups that sound like them. It does it for me. Portishead, third. So Portishead are a English electronic trip hop group, and they put out 2 albums in I think the 90s, Dummy and the self-titled. And those albums are similar but very acclaimed, pretty popular. And those are albums that people of any genre can get into. It's dark, it's kind of sexy, it's very vulnerable, it's kind of heavy. Those first 2 albums are classics, and they went away for a long time before putting out their 3rd album in 2008, many years after the 2nd. The first 2 albums are by far better, but I'm going to still give this a 4 out of 5. And musically, for the metal fans out there, if you can envision Over when they first went weird, well, after Marriage of Heaven and Hell, but like the Perdition City era, I think they were getting a lot from Portishead, at least musically. So if you haven't heard Portishead, I totally recommend it. And this is an odd album here, but I didn't know where else to put it in. This is the Tron Legacy soundtrack. And this is done entirely by the French electronic duo Daft Punk. I never saw the original Tron movie, and I never saw this either. But when it comes to mainstream music, I always like Daft Punk, so I gave this a shot. I believe it's entirely instrumental. And yeah, it's just a futuristic, spacey soundtrack version of Daft Punk. Fun listen. And they broke up a couple years ago and had only put out 4 full lengths, this not included. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching.